What is going on, travelers? I recently saw this article on Sean's post on Twitter. So I went ahead and read it, and I feel like there were some correct things that the journalist got right and some things they didn't. No Man's Sky of today is nigh unrecognizable compared to the sparse game it was when it launched. The game still boasts a distinctive art direction that initially made it looking so appealing. Basically, any planet you visit looks like the cover of a 1970s science fiction novel. It kind of does. But now the universe is a busy, almost cluttered place. Oh man, I don't know. I wouldn't consider it busy. Not as busy as it could be, let alone cluttered. You'll find habitable systems in which you'll go to a space station and you'll have ships flying in, ships flying out. They come in waves. A lot of late players know this, but a lot of beginning players don't know that. And I feel like this portion of the article is saying, okay, if you're a new player, never seen this before, this is your experience. Versus a late game player, when they're saying, oh my god, I'm just waiting for this ship to come in, maybe this exotic ship, maybe this specific S-class ship, and I'm gonna nag it, snag it. As I play, I get the sense that I will basically never run out of things to do, which is true. You never really run out of things to do in No Man's Sky. Unless you do a lot of the late game stuff, which is a lot of the updates after the Artemis storyline. My base can always be bigger and more beautiful. My small fleet of ships and freighters can only grow, but there is always technology to add or upgrade to make my travels run a bit more smoothly, and this is true. A lot of the upgrades, you'll have C class, B class, A class, and S class. S class being the top tier, in which you have X class modules as well that would kind of give you a little bit of a boost between S and A class. Some people say X is better, some people say S is better, but it's up to the person's discretion and what kind of RNG values they can get out of the upgrade in order for them to make their ship, the best ship possible for their travels. The universe is also very full. Everywhere you go is full of life in the form of alien planets or animals or aliens in the space way stations in each galaxy, or even other players who can join you in special missions. What I think they're talking about here is the space anomaly, because there's also the space stations, the lone space stations for each system you go into within a specific universe. Then there's also where other players can join you in special missions. That is generally the space anomaly. While I was partial to the emptiness of the original version, the game in its current state is simply a lot more inviting, especially the animals. It was particularly annoying to have the predators attack you when you're standing there trying to when you're trying to not mold, but build your base completely to the way and design that you wanted it to be, and all of a sudden you just get nabbed by this predator. You have to switch settings on your multi-tool, get out of building, and then just, take it out, and then just go back to what you were doing. Now, it doesn't seem to be the case, but as a player who consistently went through that irritation, I miss it. I miss it a lot. I would love when predators used to chase you, consistently. You had to take them out. Now all of a sudden you can just walk around, animals will go right by you. It's no issue. So it's more of a peaceful, kind of experience rather than having to have that anxiousness where you come in and all of a sudden you died because something bit you. But I think that kind of takes away from the whole experience of being on a specific system or even a planet, where you're kind of looking out for everything and you don't want something to kill you, so you consistently take your multi-tool out and you're scanning and you're looking. It kind of brings that immersion to the game rather than, just landing somewhere and just relaxedly going through without issues. It kind of takes away from that gameplay. This isn't to say that No Man's Sky is some kind of wholly unique experience. If I were particularly cynical, I'd describe it as a science fiction take on Minecraft. Now, I want to say Minecraft and No Man's Sky are two completely different games. No Man's Sky is a science fiction game put in a vast universe in which you can go to 256 galaxies and go through billions upon billions of systems. Build, create, rinse, repeat, move on. I mean, it's more complex than that. I'm just putting it in this simplified way. But with Minecraft, on the other hand, at least the 5 minutes I played about it, and immediately it was like, nope, not for me. I can't really say what Minecraft is in its own separate entity other than a fun game where you can mine and craft in. But that's my only input about it. I know a lot of other people recognize Minecraft and they can immediately say, oh, this game's like Minecraft. And it's like, oh, okay, you can mine, you can craft things. It's all, yeah, that's just like saying, what's a good game? Like any survival game you pick up that has mining and crafting in it is associated with Minecraft. I'm just looking at that particular aspect, not saying that Minecraft, it will never be No Man's Sky, let alone No Man's Sky being like Minecraft. They're two completely different games. What No Man's Sky also shares with Minecraft is that it's largely self-directed. While there are tons of quests, there's no real urgency behind any of them. If you'd rather ignore them all and just warp into the unknown universe, there is nothing stopping you. The only things you lose by not following these missions are the free technology and a bit of tutorializing, but maybe you prefer that kind of challenge. So this one was a toss-up. So you kind of do need to go through the beginning of the tutorial in order for you to get your ship into space, because you have to repair the ship first, which means you need to do a little bit of mining. Once you're done with the mining, there's still a blueprint you need to go out and search for. Then you need to come back with it in your ship. It's a whole like journey and experience in trying to make that first part. Once your ship actually gets repaired, you're still missing something. You're missing that hyperdrive that needs to be in there. So you got to go a little bit into the tutorial still in order for you to get it. The last time I went on this challenge, in which I had like no starter ship, I just kind of went the other direction and started searching for another ship that I could just literally take off in. I either sold my ship or found a ship that was the same price as my damaged ship, swapped them out, and as soon as I got into space, not having to do any of the first part of the tutorial, I had no hyperdrive at all. I had to go through the tutorial in order to be awarded the hyperdrive in order for me to go into another system and get that mission done, because I wanted to immediately go into trading. The whole part with trading, just to get like a beginner's kind of like money making thing going on. You're going to want to hop from one system to the next system to the next system to the next system, and then create this like little trifecta, or maybe like this little quadrant of 4 systems in which have the same items, and you can go from one, sell it to the other, sell it to the other, sell it to the other, and it keeps rolling over up until you're exhausted your resources. Then you have a bit of money to buy a better ship. But that module, that hyperdrive module, makes that possible, so you have to go into the tutorial just a little bit more. While all these self-directed tasks are on offer, you can also set out to join the constant motion of the universe. Once spawning into a new galaxy, I got a call from help from a nearby freighter, and what they're describing is this really cool experience that you're kind of like shocked that you're kind of in this space battle, and these like pirate ships are trying to shoot this freighter, and you get to take them out. They do a really good job in this part of the article explaining how you're able to take those ships down and then be awarded freighter. I'd done this mission before and knew that once I defeated all the enemy ships, the freighter would offer me either a cash reward or ask me to be the new captain of their ship. I gladly accepted the freighter as part of my fleet and added a small science terminal and overseer, which allowed me to finally unlock Exocraft. So they were awarded the ship, as an option. They went ahead and took the option. And then with the whole freighter build inside, because now you're able to build inside your freighters, you were always able to do that, but up to a certain extent with some things, like you couldn't put your portal in there. You could only have so many extractors put in there. At its beginning stages with the whole legacy build, it was very limited. Now they have like a plethora of things for you to build in there, plus your Exocraft. But the main thing I want to touch on from this is that when they put the science terminal and the overseer in there, this kind of mucks up the tutorial a little bit, because they want you to do that at the same time you're putting in your base stuff, not your freighter based things. It's the way the game's programmed and it's set, and when you move out of that set, it's like I mentioned earlier with the whole needing that hyperdrive module in order for me to get out of the system, it kind of mucks it up, and they discover that very quickly in this part of the article, which allowed me to finally unlock Exocraft. A few galaxies later, another freighter sent me a message when they wanted to join my fleet for a price. They're describing a frigate, not a freighter. How we discuss a freighter, it's interchangeably used with a capital ship. So you'll hear someone say freighter, and then you'll hear someone say capital ship. Those are two things that are the same. But a frigate, on the other hand, it is much, much smaller than that. It's bigger than a ship. It's bigger than a regular ship. But it's so much smaller than a freighter, which is the capital ship. They're offering you a frigate in order for you to purchase for their services. You kind of look at the stats. They range from C class to S class. And you would pay that amount in order for them to be in your fleet. There are sometimes conflicts between quests that are added later, but the game leans in favor of giving the player more. If 2 different quests require you to install a personal force field, they both give you the upgrade you need, and it only needs to be installed once to be valid for each quest. I don't know which quest they're referring to, but you don't need a personal force field for anything. That thing only lasts 60 seconds, and then you're kind of just left out in the open until it recharges. It's such a useless thing. One of the biggest improvements is spaceflight, and especially battles in space. but holding down the left trigger, you can now lock onto enemy ships, something that wasn't available at launch. And yes, this was not available at launch because it was Starship Combat Auto Follow that enables you to lock on to another ship that would kind of ease up on you piloting and be more concentrating on the shooting aspect. So you could be here, just aiming down the sight, and then all of a sudden the enemy is like right over here, and you could just be within that vicinity, shoot, and you would directly shoot them. Now, if this is disabled, you're on your own. You use your own piloting skill when it comes to that point. Also, spaceflight. Spaceflight, the arcadey factor of it. If you're playing on controller, then you're using the stick, and then you're using whatever's forward thrust and whatever's reverse thrust. You cannot strafe up, you cannot strafe down. You can only go forward and backwards, which is straight forward and straight back. You can twist to yaw, but you can't get the 6 degrees of freedom that you need that other space games have for their spaceships. And I believe if No Man's Sky had that mechanic, we wouldn't have to always, be in this kind of jousting kind of gameplay all the time. You would go out of the jousting and then strafe a little to the left, have our ship pointed this way while the enemy ship is going here. We can immediately shoot them with no issue at all. But because that aspect isn't there, you kind of have to get creative with your space flight. So if they're saying there have been improvements to space flight, I think maybe a small improvement, and that's because the targeting is a little bit better, but not the space flight. The space flight could improve just a little bit more. Thank you everyone for watching, and if you're more interested in the No Man's Sky updates coming up for the Thanksgiving week, then go to this video over to my right. Go beyond, Traveler.